It's the start of the week for the Kansas City Chiefs, and they have expectations. What should we expect from DeAndre Hopkins, Joshua Uche, all the changes as they get ready for the Bucs today with Matt Derrick on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Thanks for making us your first listen. Check out another Locked On show. Maybe the Patriots, maybe anything that you might want to get caught up on here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are brought to you today by FanDuel. You can get in there and get a big return on FanDuel right now. New customers, you just place a $5 bet. You get $150 back in bonus bets right now. If your first $5 bet, get it at FanDuel.com. We have a lot to cover here today. A lot of conjecture as the Chiefs are just a little bit delayed with the Monday Night Football game coming. They start practice here. Maybe while you're watching this, we're going to find out. But Matt Derrick from Chiefs Digest is here to help roll us out. You can find him at ChiefsDigest.com and here on the YouTube platform at Chiefs Digest. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting. NFL33.com and RGRFootball.com are where you can get my other content. And what's funny, Matt, is between my strength conditioning and physiological background, your reporting background, and the fact that we've been doing this for what feels like probably a decade, but I think it's only been 6 years we've been doing this show together. I can't remember a time that we've had this much trade activity all of a sudden. DeAndre Hopkins obviously being kind of the belle of the ball here, with a lot of familiar names, a lot of additions after camp this year. Your interpretation. To me, this reads as shoving every chip I have into the pot. We are going for this three-peat. I don't care what we have to mortgage or what we have to restructure. We're going to try to do that. Is that your read on the situation as well?
Pretty much. I mean, Brett Veach doesn't want to completely mortgage the future, but is he willing to mortgage it a little bit? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that every single move that this team has made has been with the notion, and you can see the planning behind it, is a three-peat or bust. I mean, it's absolutely what they're trying to do. And it's different than last year. They were certainly trying to win a Super Bowl last year, but, once again, even the terminology was different. I mean, they were just trying to win one Super Bowl last year. They weren't worried about going back to back, and you didn't hear run it back, anything like that out of this team. But this year it's different. They're fully embracing it, and they're all in on it. And so you've seen them even do a few little things. I mean, let's face it. There's not. We talk about the cap being. I don't like the word imaginary. I like the word pliable. I mean, it's flexible. You can do things with the cap. The Chiefs wanted to create enough cap space to go out and get a $17 million receiver. They could, but they don't want to completely and totally mess up 25, 26, and 27 because they think they're going to be able to win Super Bowls those years too. But at the same time, they've done some things that I know that they didn't want to do. Restructuring Jawan Taylor wasn't something that they wanted to do, but they felt like they needed to do it in order to get the DeAndre Hopkins deal done, to then be able to go out and get Joshua Uche. Also be able to go out and get a corner if they can find one, and make another deal if possible, and still be able to, navigate what they have the rest of the season. So, yeah, I mean, I do. I fully believe that, all these moves that we've seen the Chiefs make and every deal, every call that Brett Veach was calling on Cooper Kupp, even though there was no way Cooper Kupp was going to end up in Kansas City. I say that, and, maybe you're going to be listening to this and he's already a Chief, but I mean, they have pursued every single possibility, it seems like, and I think that that's just indicative of, you're right, it's three-peat or bust.
I see the cap as that imaginary box that the mimes build. Like it's there because they're making it imaginary, but I can punch them right through it if I really want to, and I think that's how Brett Veach is approaching this too. If that happens to be Jawan Taylor, fine, but when you do that, in that process, you end up with a DeAndre Hopkins. I think that twists not just the picture now. This isn't just to get to that third championship. That is, I feel, a little bit more. Yes, it gets you over the hump, but the effect that DeAndre Hopkins has had already in one partial ball game of 23 snaps, in alleviating some pressure on Travis Kelce, in allowing younger players, particularly Xavier Worthy, but others as well, to understand a little bit more about how he goes about his job and about how he looks at a defense and about how he understands to sit in a zone and wait and make yourself available to the quarterback. I feel like the impact of DeAndre Hopkins is much bigger than we've seen yet, but obviously that we'll even see in the next 5 or 6 weeks. There's a little more longevity to that acquisition, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, it was funny. I went around and I think I tried to talk to as many of the receivers last week after the trade got done, that, to kind of find out what their thoughts were and their feelings about it. And everybody was a little bit different. I mean, everybody was absolutely all in. They're like, this is fantastic. He's a Hall of Famer. Having him here is just another guy that they can learn from. And now, but the learning process and what you learn from DeAndre Hopkins is different for everybody. Hey, if you're 5'11" and 180, you're going to learn different things from DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe it's more about practice technique. Maybe it's just more about how you tackle the day. It's going to be advice. I remember Wednesday talking to Justin Reed, on the safety side, but as a former teammate of DeAndre Hopkins, and saying in his first game at Arrowhead Stadium that DeAndre came over and gave him a piece of advice about coverages and what he was going to see the Chiefs do and what they were going to do when they were in that formation. Being able to pick his brain and get kind of his, insight around the league is going to be invaluable. But, the guy who was most excited about it was Justin Ross, because Justin Ross was like, hey, Marquez Valdez-Scantling was really the only other receiver that the Chiefs have had that's his kind of receiver, as far as, length and, size and, playing more physical, using their body to catch the ball, being a back shoulder and jump ball, enthusiast. Justin Ross is like, this is the guy that he's looked up to for years, so for him, it's an incredible opportunity. So to learn. And, some of the other guys are like, hey, wait a minute, I'm not the same size as DeAndre. I don't have as big as hands as he does. So, there's other things that I'm going to learn, but Justin Ross is like, no, there's like secrets to the trade that I can pick up here.
And I think that's part of the acquisition as well. Nothing against Cooper Kupp, and if he is a Chief right now, we just don't know. Nate, welcome, Cooper. We'll get you in the playbook too. Last aspect of DeAndre, though, like as the ramp up continues, I was a little bit surprised, and I said it earlier in the week that he got as much usage and as many targets as he did, to tell you the truth. What do you see here this week against the Bucs, knowing he's got an extra day of practice, and then the next few before we get towards, actual playoff prep time?
Yeah, and that's the other thing, that, how they're going to implement DeAndre and what they're going to kind of give him each week, to me, fits in with also a little bit of the 3-peat or bust, mentality, which is that I certainly get the sense that the Chiefs are viewing this as an 11-game window. As far as how that they're going to prepare, getting DeAndre into the offense and fitting him in, and then fitting him in with the other pieces, because, obviously they're expecting, here in the next, hey, it could be in November, could be early December, when they get Isaiah Pacheco back and fitting him back into the offense, when they get, Hollywood Brown back. I mean, they're expecting that, they're hoping that that's going to be in December, maybe by the end of December, that he's actually back on the field. And they're thinking more of, how will this offense look? What are they going to be doing in January and February? And it's about getting DeAndre ready for that. So last week, I mean, I would be very surprised if the Chiefs worked with DeAndre on much more than really some third down packages and obvious passing situations, because it looked like that was mostly how they used him, was, and his 2 catches were obviously in those kind of situations. Gets the first down conversion. The throw to get them into field goal range was basically a third down throw. So, I think that was kind of week 1. Now you're going to see them just try and add more and more to his workload every single week. Is he going to be a 60 snap guy this week? Probably not. I mean, I'm guessing that's still going to be a ramp up, but I think that, they've got a plan for how to bring him along and just make it so that, hey, he's ready to go after 11 weeks, because they're not concerned. I mean, they're not concerned about 17-0, nothing like this. It's that everything that they're doing right now is all about, how do you keep this team healthy? How do you keep the guys that are coming back and fitting in when they get there, and structuring this team, the rotations, everything for, when you get into the postseason. So, for DeAndre, I don't think that they have any set metrics. I mean, it's not like they're saying, hey, we need to get him in for this many snaps, or, you need to get him this many balls, nothing like that. It's all about, what do how do you add each piece of the playbook and the offense to him each week? I mean, I think it's more, the best way to put it is that he's really going to go through 11 installations. What the team does during the offseason. The Chiefs are going to have 11 installs just for DeAndre Hopkins. So they've got one down. They got 10 more to go. But it's how do you do that to get him so that he's 100% into the offense by the postseason?
Makes sense. And that bye is hanging out there. Next thing that can help them is a pass rush. We're going to get to that coming up next. Where are my renters at? Ever feel like you're stuck in that loop of constant rent payments, just watching your money vanish into thin air? It's time to turn that rent game around, start earning some serious rewards. That's where Built Rewards comes in. Built is breaking ground as a neighborhood rewards program that hooks you up with points on your rent. Every month you pay rent and watch the Built points roll in. You can use your points to book fitness studio classes, redeem them toward a future rent payment. They're even designed to meet your lifestyle. Pay rent hassle-free through the Built Rewards app. Your rent just got a major upgrade. Built points have been consistently ranked as the highest point value currency by the Points Guy and Bankrate. Earn points by paying your rent right now when you go and join built.com/LockedOnNFL. Make sure that it's joinbilt.com/LockedOnNFL. Make sure that you use that URL so that you know that we sent you. Built.com/LockedOnNFL to start earning your reward points right now on your written payment. Always fun to talk offense. Everybody loves it. I know it's a fantasy driven, whatever. I don't care. I'm here to talk about chasing that quarterback and getting to him. And that is the best thing that can help the offense, is to put a hurting on that other offensive unit. And it's been a road. Let's be honest. With Charles Omenihu injury late last year, Mike Dan has been struggling with a couple of things here. Now they go out and make an acquisition of Joshua Uche coming over from the Patriots. The thing that stood out to me about the most, and mostly about the coverage, is because I go back, whenever the Chiefs make a trade, I go back to my research from when a guy was drafted. Unless he's like a 10-year veteran, then I don't feel the impact. But I go back, and I didn't have an athletic matrix on Uche. He didn't test pre-draft, right? He was coming off of an injury, just had the tryouts. I thought he looked like a guy that could move. He could grow into something. He's a speed rusher. He's not a power rusher. A little bit different than what Spags is usually used to. But the thing that was key to me was Bill Belichick's comments about what he thinks he can do. And in this particular defense, he doesn't have to be a first down edge setter, destroy the run kind of guy. He has to pin his ears back and go get the QB, which is something I've been asking for since I thought B.J. Thompson was going to make it to this season at this point. Hopefully B.J. will be back next year. We'll talk about that. Is that enough, Matt? In helping the pass rush out, is a designated kind of third down type guy, speed guy, something that will help Steve Spagnuolo and his schemes to get to the opposing quarterback?
I mean, I think absolutely yes. I mean, for all the reasons that you just laid out, I mean, Joshua Uche brings something to this team that it doesn't really have outside on the edge, as far as that kind of speed and, a unique skill set. I mean, it's not to say that some of the other guys don't have some speed, but Uche's faster than they are. It's just a different skill set. And you're right. I mean, it's easy to see him in the third down package where, maybe, hey, he can be in there. You're obviously ready to kick Mike Dana inside. Maybe you leave Chris Jones inside every once in a while. Now, George Karlaftis is out there, and you got Uche out there too. But again, I mean, it's another deal that the Chiefs have made with the whole intent about how does this look and work over in this case, the next 10 weeks and going into the postseason. Because how the Chiefs view it is, once they get to December and go into January, they feel like their starters are going to be George Karlaftis and Mike Dana. Then you're going to have, Felix, you're going to have Charles Omenihu, you're going to have Uche. And they want a 5-man rotation. That's the 5 that it will be. It doesn't mean that Malik Herring and Cam Thomas might not still be on the roster, or, there could be some moves that get made. But, the intention is that those are going to be your 5 guys that play in the postseason. And, I think you see that group, and you see that it's a fairly diverse group. The guys that all got a little bit different skill, but Uche's got a specific trait, and there's no doubt. I mean, the 11 sacks that he had 2 years ago, not an accident. He creates a lot of pressures. And we know in Kansas City, pressures don't always translate into sacks. Sometimes they do. Sometimes you can have a defense that creates a lot of pressure, doesn't create a lot of sacks. Sometimes, like the last couple of seasons, it did. And there's no doubt. I mean, the Chiefs want to put more power into that pass rush, more impact in that pass rush, because it hasn't been as productive as it has been the last couple of seasons. And they'd like to get more out of it. So, hey, if that means, adding Uche and a Minihue into the rotation going down the stretch, that's what they feel is going to work for them.
And you mentioned the guy that's kind of been lost in the rotation here. I'm not sure where we're at with Cam Thomas, but I do feel he still has something to add to that rotation. Clearly, it isn't enough to get on the field yet. Not sure what the hiccup is there, but I could see a point where as he comes on, he's got a nice mixture there too. Do you feel like this is the end of the road for Cam, or are we just still waiting for that to kind of click and set in? How do you see that portion of it?
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's the end of the road. I mean, I think there is definitely still an adjustment period going through with him. And some of it certainly at this point is just that, I mean, even if he was performing well, I think that the Chiefs just still view that there's other guys playing better than he is right now. He did get a little bit of work with, while Mike Dana has been out. He's been intermittent about when and not he's been active. I think that when he's been on the field, the limited snaps, I think he's been good. But, remember, he's been jerked around the last couple of seasons by the Arizona Cardinals as far as, what role he was playing, what defense was. And I think it's a little bit with Cam Thomas. It's starting from scratch, as far as just kind of rebuilding him. I've heard nothing but positive things about Cam Thomas. It's just, how quickly can he get immersed into the Steve Spagnuolo defense and the role? That might just be what's a little bit, more challenging and more difficult, because I think there's an argument to be made that Arizona just basically wasted, a couple of years of his career with the way that they used him and the way that they, kind of bounced around from defense to defense.
Well, and at least he offers something in terms of he can reduce inside. They've asked him to do that too. I think we will see this evolution continue, especially with the Minihue, and when we find out the timeline there. I'm really interested to see it, because I think this is the number one thing. We'll talk about the other topic coming up in the next segment, but I think this is the key right now to take the defense to the next level and really protect the backside, the back end. Maybe you have to do that against the Bucs, maybe not. We're going to talk about them coming up next. Hey there, NFL fans. You can get started right now with a big return with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Takes the life out of your middle there. And so when you have that hunch in the middle of a ball game or in the middle of the day on a packed Sunday with a full slate, you can check the latest stats, check out the live play-by-play, and get that so deep into the game that you can make your decisions and go on the same page to place your bets. Makes life super simple. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. It's over at FanDuel. There's a lot of options there, especially when Patrick's throwing interceptions early or we're running the ball really good. You never know what's going to happen, but if you have a gut feeling, check it out at FanDuel.com. It's always fun. You're 7-0. You got an opponent coming. It doesn't really matter who they are. You just have to make your adjustments. One adjustment and one actual topic out there still is that, along with adding impact on the wide receiver position and adding impact to the pass rush, is the cornerback position. Now, normally, when I circled this game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I was a bit nervous, I got to tell you. Between Mike Evans and then Chris Godwin, and then they added Jalen McMillan, one of my favorite college players from this last draft class. Well, now you don't have to worry about two of those three guys, at least the way it looks right now. We'll see about that. It's maybe the perfect time for the Chiefs to have this game. Do you think it could have worked out any better for them in terms of having this matchup?
Oh, no. I mean, as far as the injuries that the Buccaneers are facing right now, yeah, absolutely. This is the perfect time to catch them. The offensively, they're top 4 scoring in the NFL right now, but they certainly didn't look like that against the Falcons last week. I mean, I know they scored against 26 points, but that's not what they've been putting up the last few weeks. So, this is the absolute perfect time. that's still an offense that you got to worry about because Baker Mayfield's playing at a really high level. But, you're factoring in the fact that two of their biggest weapons are not going to be playing in this game and factoring in the fact that this defense is not very good. I think this is the perfect time to catch the Bucs when the offense is ailing a little bit and the defense is lost.
I think that's what it comes down to. When you walk into a situation like that against Mahomes, makes things difficult. So for the young corners in particular, CRW, who I thought played up and down last week, obviously with the Nazi injury, I don't know if we're going to see him clear. So it's on to Joshua Williams as far as I'm concerned. I know they elevated Keith Taylor. How do you think the cornerback position looks for this week? Youth on youth, maybe.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, and honestly, it'll be interesting if Nazi can't play this week, if they'll elevate someone from the practice squad at least, with a practice squad elevation for this week. Next man up is Josh Williams. Josh Williams didn't have a very good sequences against the Raiders, so you couldn't look at what happened in the Raiders game and instantly say, okay, well, Josh Williams is your starter. I mean, he's claimed it. No, I mean, it really goes back to training camp and the fact that nobody was claiming that starting job across from Trent McDuffie. And, and Jalen Watson, I mean, once he got the health clearance and was able to play and knock that rust off in the preseason game, I mean, the Chiefs didn't know what they had. I mean, that was their biggest fear. And that was the reason why, even going back to training camp, the Chiefs were still trying to shop and trying to find some cornerback help and depth. We've seen them, bring some young guys in on the practice squad and obviously, bring up Keith Taylor now. I mean, they're continuing to try and find, that rotation depth wise because, behind Watson, they really haven't figured it out yet. And Josh Williams has struggled. Keith Taylor hasn't played a whole lot yet. Chris Roland Wallace has played well, but, not in, as big of a job as it would be playing as a starter. That's the question. Right. Is, would he get more exposed the more that he plays as a rookie? There's all those questions. Any of those questions that Chiefs fans are asking are the exact same questions the Chiefs have been asking themselves because they don't know what they have in any of these guys. They know a little bit about what they got with Josh Williams because they've seen him, now for 3 seasons. But at the same time, they haven't seen consistency from Josh Williams. They don't know which guy that they're going to get week in and week out. Keith Taylor hasn't really gotten a chance. They might have to give him a chance just to see what he can give them. I think if Josh Williams gets the starting nod and struggles again against the Bucs like he did against the Raiders, I think you are going to see some rotation in there. They just try and push some buttons to figure things out, and it's a reason why that now that the Uche deal is done. I mean, if there's another trade before November 5th, I think it's for a corner if the Chiefs can find one. The challenge is just finding one. If there's a young, affordable corner on the market, let Brett Veach know because they're good, affordable corners are hard to find right now.
Yeah, that's the key, and we'll talk more about that coming up on our preview show later in the week, folks. Don't mind us. That said, what I think I saw last week was that the adaptation the Bucs made in their offense was to rely on rookie Bucky Irving out of the backfield, catching and running, and K. Dotton, their tight end, who I do think finally showed what I think he's been capable of. But obviously in that offense with those other weapons, he hasn't been able to shine. That puts a lot of pressure, I feel, on the safeties, but in particular the linebackers to try to take him because he is a guy that will stay in line. He can block just fine. So it's a little bit deceptive about how they're going to approach that. How do you feel about the matchup there with Otten in particular against the Chiefs' second layer, let's call it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, K. Otten's the guy that I think you'd have to be the most concerned about because he had a really big weekend last week. And like you talked about, now that there's not 2 other big guys in the offense, he's got to step up. And he did last week. So that's got to make you a little worried, especially the fact that the Chiefs have struggled at times against tight ends this season. Now, if you want a reason to be optimistic, remember what the Chiefs did against Brock Bowers last week after he had a really good first half, and it looked like, that he might just run roughshod over the Chiefs and be like another case of here's the tight end just absolutely going nuts on the Chiefs defense. they shut him down in the second half. And so, I mean, the Chiefs are going to have to pay a lot of attention to Otten. You got to feel pretty good about the run game just because the Chiefs play the run defense really well. We're going to have to see what it looks like without Najee Johnson and without Jalen Watson, because both those guys play the run pretty well. So now you're going to see an entire game without maybe either one of them. And that's going to be the challenge. That might be because if I'm the Bucs, that's the place where I would run. I'd run outside and I would challenge whoever is over there and see if they're willing to step up and make some tackles and make some plays. You're going to throw that direction too, probably. And, if the Bucs can get some mismatches with Otten, that's the first place that Baker Mayfield's going to go. I mean, it's not just his safety blanket at this point. I mean, it's the primary, I think, passing target for him at this point.
Yeah, it makes sense. I would do that. You would do that. The question is, what will the Bucs do? So how do you see this game going, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, there's part of me just because of the matchup with this that really thinks that the Chiefs could roll. But as the close paying attention listeners will know, viewers, I vowed not to pick the Chiefs to roll until they actually roll somebody. So the most I can go is a 10 point spread. So I'm going with the Chiefs 27-17. I've got a lot of confidence, obviously, that this defense is going to continue its run. Hey, this Buccaneers offense, we really don't know what they're capable of. Like I said, they had a decent day against the Falcons. That was the Falcons. Falcons defense is not the Chiefs defense. So it could be even better, but I'm going to go 27-17, see where it goes from there, Ryan.
Okay, well, we'll check back in with you, folks. You'll hear my prediction on Friday along with Chris's, so make sure you check us out there. Like, sub, hit the bell here on this channel. Check out Matt at ChiefsDigest.com and Chiefs Digest here on the YouTube platform. Matt, thanks for your time, setting us straight and keeping us on track here for Monday Night Football.
Can't wait for Monday Night Football and the trade deadline on back-to-back days. It's going to be a busy week, Ryan.
It is going to be a busy week, folks. We'll have it all for you here, and Matt will have it on Chiefs Digest. Thanks for being with us. Make sure that you are ready. We have the crossover tomorrow as we get ready for those Bucs, and then our preview show on Friday. Do not miss it. Thanks for being with us.